Hi folks, welcome to Ivy-GreGMAT GMAT Verbal CR Session 6 Part B. Let's start. Critical reasoning flaw. Well, this is a type of question which appears regularly, and it's something like this. I think we have covered it well in the concept lectures, and just to understand, facts driving towards a conclusion, but this conclusion is vulnerable to criticism. So, or rather, there is a flaw in this argument which is driving towards this conclusion. The endeavor is to find that flaw. If correct, then this conclusion is weakened. So, we have to choose that option that exhibits this flaw. So, that is the correct option where this flaw will weaken this conclusion. So, this will not be the correct conclusion as depicted. Let's see the questions and then we'll understand it better. Question number 1. A television manufacturing plant has a total of 1,000 workers. Though an average of 10 are absent on any given day for various reasons, on days when exactly 10 workers are absent, the plant produces television at its normal rate. Thus, it is reasonable to assume that the plant could fire 10 workers without any loss in production. What's the conclusion here? That the plant could fire 10 workers without any loss in production. It has got 1,000 workers and it has got 10 absentees every day. 10 absent. So it works with 990 workers. So with 990 workers, the production remains same. This much is okay. This is what it is saying. Now he's saying that if that is the case, if the production is same with 10 workers absent, on an average 10 workers are absent on any given day, so this is the fact. And this is a fact. With this in mind, if we fire 10 workers, means 10 workers are asked to leave, then the production won't be affected if the plant is to fire 10 workers without any loss to production. Fair enough. Seems likely conclusion that with 990 workers only, production will be the same. Plausible conclusion. But this conclusion is flawed. So we'll have to find out that flaw in this argument amongst this options. If true, then this will become weakened. This conclusion will become weakened. So let's see what all may happen under the given circumstances that this conclusion will be weakened. Let's quickly get to the option which is likely one which is correct. Let's look at option B. Option B. This argument actually fails to show, one second, fails to show that the absentee rate would drop if 10 workers were fired. So there is a assumption here that if 10 workers are fired, the absentee rate would drop if 10 workers are fired. the the company is assuming that if 990 workers are now on board with 10 workers fired, the absentee rate, which is absentee rate, which is like standing at 10 workers per day, this will go down, and maybe one or two workers will be absent, one or two or three workers will be absent per day. So with say 990, 988 or odd workers, the production won't be hampered. What if this absentee rate remains at 10 workers per day? So it's like 990 with 10 absent, if it becomes 980 now, or say 990 with 8 absent becomes 982 workers working. Will my level be same? Will the production level be the same? Most likely not. So if this is the thing, fails to show that absentee rate would drop if 10 workers are fired. If this is true, then this is definitely challenged. So the argument is most vulnerable to criticism on the grounds that it fails to show this. So this argument, this conclusion is vulnerable to criticism, because if this is true, then seriously this conclusion is challenged. Okay, let's go for the next one. Question number 2. A certain mayor has proposed a fee of $5 per day on private vehicles entering the city, claiming that the fee will alleviate the city's traffic congestion. Mayor's reasons that since the fee will exceed the cost of round trip bus trip fare from many nearby points, many people will switch from using their cars to using the bus. Fair argument. Conclusion is people will switch from using their cars to using bus because the fee will exceed the cost of the round trip bus fare. So what the mayor has proposed? $5 per day. This is a fact. The proposal here is a fee of $5 per day on private vehicles. This is a fact. Fact 2 is this fee will be more than cost of round trip by bus. The conclusion is, if this is true, people will switch from private vehicles to bus, which is a cheaper option. And if this happens, then overall congestion, traffic congestion will go down. Sorry, will go down. Fair? This is the conclusion drawn. Now the question is, which of the following statements, if true, provides the best evidence that the mayor's reasoning is flawed? That this will happen with a proposal that $5 fee for any private on the private vehicles, and this fee is less than is will cost you less than the round trip. So obviously, if this is the situation, like is this fee is less than the is more than the round trip, so people um, will be will be rather prompted to take up their drop their vehicle in somewhere outside the city and take a bus. If they take a bus, then the road congestion will go down. But this is flawed if any of these are true. So let's check which may be the, or rather, this is not foolproof. Let's see option B. The cost of parking fee already makes it considerably more expensive for most people to take a private vehicle into the city than take a bus. Okay. it is more, already the cost of parking fee already makes it more expensive for most people to take a private vehicle into the city than to take a bus. So obviously, if this is true, think about it. This is the city. The cost of parking inside the city is high. So people who are driving from outside the city, driving by their own car, will park it somewhere here, will take a bus because the cost of parking inside the city is higher. So that means the mere thinking that this extra fee will have this impact is not correct, is incorrect. Reason being, whatever the congestion the city is witnessing, it's because of the existing vehicles within the city, not from some outsider. The people are already parking their vehicles outside the city and are taking the bus. So if that is the case, no matter $5, $10, whatever fee you are charging on private vehicles which are coming into the city, and if the cost is more than that of taking the bus, then that will be all flawed. So this is the biggest flaw in the argument. This will not happen at all. This kind of thing will not happen at all. So this argument is challenged here by option B. Let's read out option B again. The cost of parking fee already makes it considerably more expensive for most people to take a private vehicle into the city than to take a bus. So anyway, people are outside the city only. So this conclusion will be weakened. Or rather, this argument itself gets flawed. Mayer's reasoning is flawed. Answer is B. Okay, question number 3. Certain messenger molecules fight damage to the lungs from noxious air by telling the muscle cells encircling the lungs airways to contract. This partially seals off the lung as an asthma attack occurs when the messenger molecules are activated unnecessarily in response to the harmless thing like pollen or household dust. Fair enough. So let's understand this what it is saying. There are certain messenger molecules that fight the damage to the lungs from noxious air by telling the muscles encircling the lung airways to contract. So if the lungs are here like this, there are two lungs, and there is some airway duct. So the moment this messenger molecule fights the damage to the lungs by whenever it comes in noxious airs, then it tells the muscle cells encircling the lungs airways to contract. So these lungs airways will contract, and so the lung is actually sealed. This is now sealed. Whenever there is a noxious air. Now it's saying the second line, an asthma attack occurs when the messenger molecules are activated unnecessarily. So in response to harmless things like pollen grains and household dust. So asthma, it's not asthma, it's asthma. Okay. So asthma is attack happens when pollens and household dust, which are rather harmless, activate these messenger molecules. Right? Now we get the point. Now the question is, which of the following, if true, points to the most serious flaw of a plan to develop a medication? Now it goes to next stage, that we are developing a medication that would prevent asthma attacks, that will prevent the asthma attacks by blocking the receipt of any messages sent by messenger molecules referred to above. Now this needs to be cured. So a medication is getting developed. This medication, what it will do? It will block the receipt of any messages from messenger molecules. So messenger molecules, when they send it to the muscles, if this is blocked, if this doesn't happen, it has to send to the muscle cells. If this is not sent, then the asthma will not happen. Now the question is, points to the serious flaw. What is the flaw in this medication? What is the flaw? If this is the thing, fair enough. Asthma is cured. But think about it. I'll tell it this way, that if asthma is caused when, say, pollen grains, which are harmless, are being are activating the messenger molecules. But asthma, this is the issue. Now the cure is to stop the messenger molecules from sending any signal to the muscles. Think about it. If this medication, which you'll find, if it stops the pollen grains, asthma gets cured. But what about the noxious air? If it starts, if we are taking medication, a patient is taking medication, and it's actually harmful noxious air, and that also doesn't, in that case, this medication will not trigger messenger molecules anyhow, because in that case, this person may die, the person concerned may die of noxious air, not only messenger pollen grains. So it may be, I prevent one issue by taking a medication, but I die of something else, or rather, I develop another complication. So, keeping that in mind, let's check out which may prove to be the most serious flaw. Option D, check this. Such a medication would be unable to distinguish between the messages triggered by pollen and household dust and messages triggered by noxious air. Pollen or household dust. This will activate, this will stop the messenger molecules. Even the noxious air will be prevented, will activate the messenger molecules, or rather, will prevent the messenger molecules. But this is something I do not want. This is okay. So, prevention of medication for this, which which is required for saving people from asthma, will prove to be detrimental because this is an issue here. So this is the flaw in the argument. So the most serious flaw is this option D. Fine. D is the correct answer. Let's move to the next one. Okay, question number 4. The violent crime rate in the number of violent crimes per 1000 residents is, one second, yeah. Question number 4. The violent crime rates, the number of violent crimes per 1000 residents in Meadowbrook is 60% higher now than it was 4 years ago. The corresponding increase in Parkdale is only 10%. These figures support the conclusion that residents of Meadowbrook were more likely to become victims of violent crime than are residents of Parkdale. What is the conclusion here? The conclusion is that residents of Meadowbrook are more likely to become victims of violent crime than residents of Parkdale. Based on the jump of the crime rate at Meadowbrook being 60% higher now than it was 10 years back, and Parkdale is only 10% higher. So 4 years ago, And now, crime rate at Meadowbrook, and say this is Parkdale. 4 years ago, if there is a jump in 4 years by 60%, and in Parkdale it has gone up by 10%. So 4 years ago, if there were 100 crimes here, it should be 160 crimes now. In Parkdale, if I go by this logic, if there are 100 crimes here, there will be 110 crimes. But the entire conclusion is dependent on crime rate, not on actual numbers. So that's why rate, percentage, or fraction is not a reflection of the actual number. Now think about it. If 10 years back, keeping everything same, ago, the number of violent crimes in Meadowbrook were 100. A number of violent crimes in Parkdale were 1000. So now, this is 4 years back. So now it will be 160. This will be 1100. So an increase of 60. Here it is 100. Which city is more safer now? So we do not know, we cannot base our argument or judgment, or you can say the conclusion, based on rate, crime rate. We have to know the exact number of people affected by crime. Keeping that in mind, let's see, the argument above is flawed because it fails to take into account what? The number of violent crimes in Meadowbrook and Parkdale in the past 4 years. So the exact number it is talking about. Clear? So option D. The correct answer is D. Right, let's go to the next one. Question number 5.